streaming. I'm gonna post the announcement. Posting. There we go. Office hours. Post live stream announcement. Where's live stream? There we go. Live stream. There we go. Let me make sure I have it open too, so I can make sure it's working. Okay, it is open. Hello.
Hello?
Hello.
Can
How's
you
the
hear
volume?
us?
Hello. Yes, I'm still a bit sick. Hello. Hello, Sunbee. It's a glitch! Meow.
Hi.
Meow. It's a cutie in the chat. Hello, everyone. People should be coming in. The stream is live.
Hello, welcome to the Everybody's Sick stream. Oh god, sorry.
Everybody's sick. Hello. Is the audio for both of us okay? Test 1, 2.
Can you hear me? Hello.
It's going like about the same levels on OBS, so I assume it should be okay.
Okay.
Yes, we can hear you. So, hello everyone. Hello, and welcome to the first episode of the Resonance of 2025 of this new year. The Resonance, it's a weekly sort of office hours slash podcast where you can come, you can, ask any questions about Resonite, whether it's the development, engineering, whether it's, how's the platform's going, what the goals are, what the history is, like whatever you want to know about the platform. And so all the questions, they can end up like going into a little bit of a tangent or like longer rambles where we kind of delve a little bit more into the philosophy of it, like where is it going, what do we want to do with with this project, where it's heading, to give you better and sort of like higher level overview of like what the platform is and what our goals are. If you'd like to ask any questions, make sure you put question mark at the end of it, or somewhere in the middle of it. And then that way it pops up like on our pinned messages, so that makes sure like we don't miss it. Also, we are coming to you from this like beautiful world. This is the new Creator Jam 2025 New Year's World. It's very pretty, so like I found like it's gonna be like very fitting to stream from here. It's like gonna be like kind of good backdrop. I want to kind of get into the habit of trying to like use different worlds for these streams. Just gonna go around. Hello, Jack the Fox Author. Hello, Fuzzy. Hello, Terska. Oh, Terskail. Terskail. I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing that. So hello everyone. So with that, like I think we could get started. The aim is like usually these go like for 2 hours because we got plenty of questions by the time it kind of gets going. So hello Blue Bois, Blue Bois,
Blue Bois.
Blue Bois.
Okay.
I'm
We have our
like, that sounds like Blue Bois, but it's
Blue Bois.
but it's also Bois, which is the sound. Like
That's a very different dialect.
It's a different dialect of it. Anyway, we got a question. Let me actually clear this one. SMB8272 is asking, will sharing videos in-game on the spot be improved? Maybe an option to load it if another friend wants to watch it alongside. For now, I have to preload MP4 by saving it in the world itself. So I'm actually not fully sure what do you mean by that. Like when you bring a video into the world, it automatically loads for everyone in the world, at least like it should. I'm actually not quite sure I understand this one.
Perhaps maybe you've just had bad luck. There is currently a bug that happens where if there's a lot of asset transfers in a world, there's a chance that asset transfers may end up getting stuck. That is, transfers between, players.
It could be that. But it's like, circumstantial.
So I'm not sure if maybe you've just been having bad luck with that, but if you bring an MP4 into the world, it should upload to the host, and then the host should distribute it to everyone else in the session.
Yeah. I don't want to like rewrite that system because like it is prone to kind of like just getting clogged and then stuff that's like locally
Oh,
imported doesn't like transfer anymore. So it's
oh,
it's yeah, like but like it's not like something that's specific to videos. Like it's anything. It's it's pictures. It's like whatever assets you bring into the session, they are not like saved to the cloud yet. They will be synchronized. Sort of between like the clients through the session, and when it clogs, it just stop transferring. So they want to like rewrite that one at some point. Um.
yeah. Also,
So
sorry.
the question is like like also like where are you importing the video from? Are you like importing is it from YouTube? Is it like local asset and so on? Yeah, it might be just that. Like that system kind of needs a rewrite. It's gonna uh
They they did mention that the like loading indicator on the video player only showed 1 out of 2. Um, that thing
or
will
just
lie you
another bug.
sometimes. Yeah,
But well,
that
the
thing will
question is
lie.
like, is the video actually loaded? Because there's also another bug with the indicator where it might not show it correctly. So like,
Yeah,
does the video play for the other person? But also like maybe the assets are just clocked, so it could be either of the two bugs. Yeah, it was a
yeah.
local file. Um, yeah, like the system, it's one of those things I really want to rewrite at some point. So that's gonna because that's like it makes things kind of just weird because like once you start like you bring stuff, um, once you kind of like bring stuff like you could be bringing like pictures and memes and videos and like other stuff we want to show people and suddenly kind of stop showing. It kind of gets weird because you have to usually restart the session. So um, I don't really want to touch that one at some point. And Lucas here is also asking, perhaps an option for uploading assets directly to the cloud inventory so it can load faster for everyone. And we can already do that. We just save it to your inventory and then spawn it from there. So there's already an option, And usually what people do is like if this syncing is like stuck, usually we just tell people like just save it to inventory, wait for it to sync and spawn it out. That way it loads from the cloud because once you save it to your inventory, the URLs are rewritten to the cloud instead of like local. So that kind of like gets around it. But the main thing is just fix it so like the syncing doesn't break. We usually don't add features to work around a bug. We just want to fix the bug because like it's otherwise you just end up like with lots of kind of bugs that still stay there and you're just kind of working around them and it kind of makes the bugs faster, which is like not good long term. The next question is from Jack the Foxotter. What's the scope of the upcoming audio system rework? What things will get worked on, added, replaced? So right now the audio system in Resonite is already like a hybrid. We like Froox engine. It handles a lot of the base of audio processing. Like for example, we do our own audio decoding. Like when it's decoding like WAV files or FLAC files, or OGG, like Vorbis. All of that is our own. Same like with stuff like the voice, like that's being like transmitted. That's like fully Froox engine. The parts that like Unity is handling right now is the spatialization. So we give Unity the audio buffers. Actually, this might be like a good. I might like draw this a little bit just to kind of give you a better idea. I'm gonna go over here. I made a spot for drawing. There we go. It's not a whiteboard, but it's nice. Oh, um, it's nice like whiteboard in the sky. So which is kind of a bit weird because I don't have like any reference to draw on, but we'll see how it works. So right now, like say you have a bunch of audio sounds. You have like audio source here, you have another one here, and you have another one here, and these are like all playing like different sounds. Um, say like this one's like a wave, this one's like I might actually I'm a little bit the camera's a little bit rotated. I might move it a little bit better. I guess like having a whiteboard would be better, but this should work. So a bunch of different audio effects, say this one's OGG, and this one's like flag. It's just a bunch of sounds in the world, and you have like a listener, you have like an ear. I don't know if I can draw an ear, but you have like your ear here. So what we do is we have a system that actually decodes the audio for this, so this is like the audio data, and like this is the buffer, and every like audio update, it like decodes the bit of that audio, and that's already done on the Froox engine. So this is on our side of Froox engine. It's still kind of in frame. It's kind of weird. I probably should have like found like a flat place or something.
Let me see if I can find the whiteboard.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It's one of the downsides. I'm gonna move the camera a bit. I can actually move a little bit out of the way. There we go. So this is like, Froox engine. And then like, we have the Unity side. And right now what happens is Froox engine will kind of, synchronize the positions of them. And this is Unity.
There we go. We got a whiteboard.
There we go. Does that help? I mean, that doesn't fully. There we go. Is it flat with the camera?
There we go. I think that's fine.
I'm gonna adjust the camera a bit. Let me just move it. Oh. Oh wait,
Stand
did
by,
it?
folks. We're a little out of it today.
Why is the camera attached to the whiteboard?
What?
What do we
Oh,
do?
it's the. Is it the frustrum snapping to the whiteboard?
That's weird.
Oh no.
Uh,
Bruh.
okay, this works. Let's just throw with this. So then we have like the unit this side. And unit this side, we actually have to like duplicate. Can actually move out of the way so on the unit side, we actually say there's audio source here, there's audio source here, there's audio source here. And then like we have to transmit, like we have to give Unity the audio data for each one of these. So we give it buffer for this one, we give it buffer, for this one, and then we give it buffer for this one. And then Unity, and we also tell it like, the ear is over here. So Unity can figure out, how this should sound based on the position of the ear with the spatialization. And this is like one of the things like which makes it like a little bit more entangled with Unity because we're giving it audio buffers for each individual audio output. So one of the things we'll be doing is that like all this spatialization, because like Unity resolves this and then it produces a final mix of the audio, then goes to your actual speaker, and then like you then hear that. So this, then goes like to your, whatever, like your headphones, your speakers, whatever. What we'll do by having our own audio system, because say like, we have the ear here, and these sounds are like, near you, Unity will actually kind of collect, these are like the close sound effects, so I'm going to render these out, I'm going to spatialize them, and maybe there's also like, there's like a reverb zone here that we, told it about. There's like one on here, and we just kind of sync that. There's a reverb zone here, so that's going to apply, extra effects. We want to like resolve all of this here, so Unity is not even going to need to care about this. So what our system will do, instead of having Unity, or essentially Fmod, like which is the system it uses, do this part, will have a system which is very likely going to be based on the Beppo physics, where each of the sound effects it has like it has like a range where you can hear it, and then like when we say okay, there's a listener here, we want to collect all the sound effects or like all the sounds that should be hearable from this point in space, and we want to hear them. We want to kind of hear them, we want to resolve them. So it's gonna collect all of them into so it's gonna be okay. This one's near and this one's near. We already have system for decoding audio, so then it's just a matter of taking these and running it through spatialization, which is they're gonna be still using Steam Audio, except we're gonna be using it directly now. So we're gonna ask Steam Audio, you know, to make the sound as if they are at this position relative to the listener. This one's at this position relative to the listener. What's cool about this is once we also resolving the audio for each of the sound effects, we can now control stuff like attenuation. So for example, we can say this is this far from the user, so maybe it's gonna use this kind of curve, or this kind of curve, or maybe we're gonna have a different type of curve or whatever we want, because we can just plug whatever function we want to compute the actual attenuation. This gonna do the stuff like feature parity. When there's also reverb zones, they're gonna be okay, the listeners within the reverb zone, we found they're inside. So we're also gonna apply extra sound effects to this audio data before mixing it together. And once this is done, we actually compute our own final audio that's all mixed and resolved for this listener. So this is the final audio that's been resolved from all the sound effects, whatever other effects are in there, and we're gonna produce it ourselves instead of having Unity produce it. And it becomes a question because either we can just send this to Unity and be can you pipe it to the speakers, or we just we use the library. We might just pipe it to speakers ourselves. So we just pipe it in, and Unity is not even gonna know there's any audio being produced because we just do it with our own process. What this by having the control over the system, what it will allow? There's gonna be a few new features that are gonna come in as part of the system. The main goal, because this is done as part of the performance updates, is feature parity, which is making sure all the stuff that works right now reasonably works with the new system. But there's a few things that are relatively simple additions that we're going to add along the way, especially because they're also things that people have been asking about. One of those is having multiple listeners. So right now, I'm streaming to the camera. If I switch the audio to spatialized, actually, I might even do a live demonstration for this. So I'm gonna switch Syra back to spatialized. So Syra, if you say something, you hear him coming from the wrong side because it's actually coming from my side. I would have to turn this way now. You say something.
Hello.
So now he's from the right side because you're actually hearing it from my viewpoint. We do have a feature where I can switch it on the camera. There's render audio from camera viewpoint. So now, Syra, if you say something.
Hello.
Oh, that's so weird. So now you see it correctly from the camera, but I hear him from over there, which is incorrect. And it kind of it messes with my brain. Okay, I switch it back. I'm gonna switch him back to broadcast. So that's one of the limitations. You can either have the audio coming from the camera's viewpoint or from my viewpoint, but not you cannot have two separate ones, because with Unity we can only have one listener, one virtual ear in the scene. With having our own system, we can essentially have as many ears as we want. So we can have another one that represents the camera, and just be we want to also resolve all the audio from the viewpoint of this ear, and it's going to be the camera, and this is going to be piped into a different audio device. So this is this one goes to your speakers, so this is what you hear, and this goes to the camera, and maybe there's a different audio device. You pipe it to OBS, and now you have accurate audio from the camera's viewpoint. We can do a bunch of extra features as well. We can, for example, render your own voice. You could be hearing me spatialized relative to your viewpoint, even though I'm the one streaming. which is also going to make it a little bit easier, for the setup, because with OBS, I won't have to I won't have to do my voice capture my voice separately from the game audio. My voice is actually going to come from the game audio with this system. There's some other things we could do too, because for example, when we are resolving the audio, one of the things that's added, that I've been kind of like adding like in the background, is spherical harmonics. And spherical harmonics, like I mentioned before, one of the things they're used for is ambisonics, which is a way to encode directional audio. That means in a scene, I'm gonna like remove some of this clutter just so it's like not too cluttered. It's a way of having audio that sounds different based on the direction you're hearing it from. So say there's a audio source here, and this is ambisonics one. I'm just gonna like do like, I'm gonna visualize it like this. So you might actually, this might sound different if you're like hearing it from this angle, and might sound different if you're hearing it from this angle or this angle. Or it can also be, the other way. So like it can be kind of coming from everywhere, and you're kind of inside of it. And as you turn your head, depending on which angle like your head is, the audio is gonna move around you. Is a really good way to like do like environmental audio. So you can have like sounds of like environment, and as you move around, it doesn't stay fixed to your head, but it actually kind of moves around. So it's good way to do ambience. And because we have the code for resolving spherical harmonics, and because we'll have like full control over resolving the audio, we can just be like, we just pipe the direction into the ambisonics, compute what the audio should be, and compute the audio buffer, and then we do whatever processing and piping we need on that. So just having like the full control of the system, that's gonna open up lots of like possibilities. The one thing I do want to mention is the main focus is just kind of collect the audio, like collecting, and then it's like resolving the spatialization. Um, people kind of expect some things like stuff like with audio decoding and so on, but it's stuff that we already do. Like that's why it's like currently, why is it a hybrid? Because we already handle our own decoding of like different like audio files, so like this isn't really gonna get touched. There's also things like doing audio processing like DSP. That's a separate project. That's gonna be the Protoflex Audio DSP. So you can do like effects like splitting channels, piping them into different things and so on. That's gonna handle stuff like that. The audio system specifically is just resolving the spatialization, calling the audio sources that are like around you, building like the system willing to build like a priority list too. So for example, if you have if you have lots of audio sounds like in the same area, so you have like your listener, and there's like say each one of these is an audio source. There's so many around. The system cannot like reasonably play them all without like losing performance. So the system will need to like build a list of them. It builds like a list. It's like these are all of these sound sources within the proximity of the ear, and then it's sorted list. It's like okay, like this one has higher priority, and kind of ranks them and decides I'm gonna play only these ones, and these ones are gonna be quiet. But we also have like control over that logic now, so we can add whatever rules we want, we can add whatever behaviors we want. It's gonna open up a lot of options for expansion for the kind of system. So I do hope it kind of covers things on what the audio rework will kind of like involve, what can you expect from it. If you get any follow-up questions, like feel free to ask. We're gonna move back to the other area. There we go. Oh, It's another of the rambles. Oh, let me position this. Um, there's also like a bunch of things that we'll do like in the future. Just like by implementing our own versions of some of these systems, we get full control over the system because right now some of it is more of a black box inside of Unity, and by having our own code that handles it, it's no longer a black box. We control it, and that opens up like new possibilities too, and makes it easier to fix certain issues or add certain features that otherwise would be a lot more difficult. So, further kind of covers that question. Next question from SNB8272. Another question. Will we be getting any linear curves for color alpha over lifetime on legacy ribbon particles back? So I'm not sure. What do you mean by legacy ribbon particles?
We should already have the
Yeah,
the arrays for the curve keys should already be there. So if you have any previous particles that ended up using those, they should be fine.
it should work.
There was also previously no way to edit those, and if you saw a way to edit those, then that was likely you joined someone's session and they had a mod that
Yeah,
added like a hack UI to like edit them. So
yeah. It should convert like all of the modules like they should be there for feature parity. If something's not converting right, like make sure to make a GitHub issue so we can kind of look into it. But um, yeah, like all the modules for feature parity should be there. So we probably need like a little more kind of clarification. There's also like new modules. So you can, for example, do color and alpha over lifetime using a texture as well, which can make it like easier to edit. But if you're like using like a mod or something to edit the arrays, they will require whoever made the mod or whoever made the thing to like update it for the new system. But the actual like system like is in there. Next question is the JetForge. Any plans to support Opus OG file decoding? I think last time I tried to upload OGG file that had audio encoded in Opus, it would just have a blank waveform and not play, which is as funny because all the voices from users seem to be Opus. So it's something we could do. It's just like there's not been too much, you know, requests for it. I would recommend like making a GitHub issue because that can be a good way to kind of gauge like are people interested in that. It's just matter of putting time into it. It's doable. It's just needs man hours to happen. For the voices of users, the reason like we cannot just use the part like that's used for voices is because while the voices they use the Opus codec, they don't use the OGG container. The data is like is essentially sent pretty much raw. It's like raw Opus frames that are being transmitted through our like custom like system for like handling audio buffering, which is one of the ways like we achieve like a really low like audio latency with voices. But it means like we cannot just use that same code for Opus OGG playback because what you need to do is like either like we would have to use code to like decode the Opus frames from OGG and then like use the Opus decoder to decode the actual audio data, or we just use a library that kind of does it like both at the same time. We don't have to like worry. We just kind of give it and it gives us audio data back. So, but essentially you need like two pieces. You need something to extract the OGG, frames from the OGG stream, and within those you have the Opus frames, which is the actual kind of raw encoded audio data. Because the codec it also handles like some other stuff, like for example seeking. Like each of the OGG frames, it has like stuff like timestamp and so on, and that's one of the things you need to kind of keep track if you want to move in the audio file, like jump a minute ahead or want to jump a minute back, stuff like that. You cannot really do that with voices because the voices is just a constant stream, and if you miss a packet, like it's gone, like and you cannot really go back. So it's kind of different. But yeah, like if you want to like import those files, I would recommend making a GitHub issue, getting an upvotes on it, and that way, like, oh, your keyboard is sounding. Um, making
that wasn't me.
what? That was
That
weird.
was the music in the world.
I have it muted. Um, but yeah, I do recommend like making a GitHub issue. There's also another possibility. I do eventually want us to switch to a different kind of library that handles a lot of the decoding because uh, we're using a lot of kind of C# like implementations of these things, and there's like some libraries I've been kind of looking at as a potential replacement. Some of those libraries they do support like Opus, like with an OGG container. So by making that switch in the future, like it might just happen implicitly. But we'll see how that one kind of goes. Um, so this one's not related. Uh, Nuki-kun, isn't there an open standard for VR avatars and worlds? Why hasn't it been implemented in Resonite, and will it ever be? Um, I don't think there's like a standard for like VR. Like, I mean, there's like some for stuff. Like you have like, for example, VRM, which is sort of like just GLT files with some extra stuff. One of the things that's been kind of like blocking us there is because it includes like licensing information, and right now we don't have like a good way to kind of preserve that, like enforce that. So like we've been kind of like waiting on that. Especially since like information we've gotten from people where like it's better to have like wait until have a robust licensing system before supporting that, but we might want to reevaluate that. Um, I don't think there's like any standard for worlds. Like at least I'm not like really aware of any. Um, the problem is also like it's a little bit hard to like have standard that kind of covers everything. Like you end up like with something that's um with something that's essentially like the least common denominator. Like because there's a lot of stuff you could do in Resonite that you cannot do in other platforms, which means it cannot be part of a standard, and vice versa with other platforms. Like every platform has its own different ways of doing stuff. And if you want to distill the things that can be shared between platforms, like it needs to be some common shared functionality, which ends up being just a small subset of what the different platforms support. But we do support like a number of like formats. Like you can import like GLTF like directly. That's like an open format like for model files. So we're always looking to add like more formats as the time goes. It's just like with everything, it's just a matter of like man hours that need to be put into it, and also kind of like kind of interest from people. Um, or like maybe I should say like the interest like from people is what helps to determine which things we invest man hours into to implement. So if you're like aware of like any standards like you would like to see, make sure there's like a GitHub issue and make sure there's like quotes on it. Uh, VV Arxelius, how much is the Froox? How do I give Froox the coffee? A coffee? I don't know. How are you giving me a coffee?
I mean, you like go to Starbucks, I guess. I don't know.
Oh, Duncan. Zuan5250 is asking, do we have any interface protoflags to manipulate audio buffer for creating custom sound effect, audio filter, audio synthesizer algorithms like the callback, mono behavior, and audio filter read in Unity Engine? So there's a planned feature that's called the audio DSP for protoflags. There's a GitHub issue on it that kind of like has a bunch of kind of details, and essentially what it will do is like what you're asking is so you can do a bunch of like audio processing. That's gonna include a bunch of existing filters, so like a lot of common filters you want to do with audio. There are gonna be like just nodes, and you just plug it through them. There's also gonna be mechanisms where you can specify and say, my like where you can specify. Uh, where you get like the audio buffer and you can just kind of loop through it and do whatever you want with it to make your own filters as well. So it's gonna come at some point. If you like, if you like to see that, like if that didn't get a visual, like an upload to it, it's gonna make it easier for the justify prioritizing it sooner. It's definitely one of the things I'm kind of looking forward to working on because I think it'll open like lots of new cool options. But yeah, it's on the roadmap. It's gonna happen eventually. Next question from Jack the Fox Author. I've been busy the past week getting into plugin development, and I'm curious, what are your long-term plans for improving expanding plugin system? The ability to make user space core plugins is powerful and fun to work with already, but some things still seem to be missing, like callbacks, um, events that get called after the engine starts, stops, and may get a issue about it. So it kind of depends because like I'm always like um there's like several things because like plugins to me they're like how do I put it? Like you can pretty much like use them potentially to add anything into the engine. The problem is whatever you add, it makes you incompatible with other clients. And one thing could be done is, like you have like other users install the plugin, but it requires them to go to a website, and so another thing and so on. Um, you could theoretically have the plugin automatically download and then run, but that's a very, very bad idea because it can be malicious code, and you don't want to just run that automatically. It can be malicious code if you download it, from some websites too and install it, but at least like that requires the user action to do. So it's like less likely to be exploited. So in my idea, like I think plugins are most like suited for things that don't touch the data model. Um, I think they're gonna be like great. Like I do want to like expand support for you know making it easier to add like stuff like device drivers. You want to add support for another device. Can make it easier to do that. You want to add stuff like new importers and exporters for file formats. Plugins can be like really great for that too. So it's sort of like providing like specific ways to add different types of things to the engine that can expand it well. Um, and sort of like provide like different kind of hooks and callbacks that make it easy to plug into these systems. That way, like we could also like take a lot of our own code. Like one of the things I've kind of wanted to do for a while is, for example, take the importer exporter system and rewrite it to be more modular, but also open source those modules so we can publish the code that does the importing of models, and does importing like exporting of other stuff, because that way you can both use it as a reference to make your own or make your forks that better suit your specific needs, or you can even make like contributions to the official ones. So like if there's like bugs, and if there's some issues with how something's imported and like you have fixes for it, you could like help us with those and help like improve things that way. Plus, you can just build your own importers. You want to support this like super obscure file format, um, write like an importer plugin for it. Um, the other thing is like having sort of like batch processes. So like if you have like tools that like I don't know, say like they go through the whole hierarchy of the world and they do a bunch of like optimizations on it. That's another I think like really good use for plugins, because like that doesn't need to introduce new data into the data model. So it can be another thing like we provide sort of nice interfaces for. For anything like that like adds stuff to the data model, I feel it's better to like um use stuff like WebAssembly, because that's much easier to like sandbox. It's designed to be secure, so we can like we can like synchronize that code to other users without worrying it's gonna cause exploits, or like the likelihood of an exploit is like way lower. Like it's never ever gonna be zero, but WebAssembly is like designed, for the internet. It's designed to like, run in your web browser. Um, so it's already kind of like, hardened against that. Versus like, raw secure plugins, like they're not. Um, but yeah, like there's probably gonna be like, things for supporting specific, kind of like use cases for plugins. One of the things is also gonna be so you can more easily like like when you do have stuff that adds to the data model, if you really want to do that, is like when you start a session, you decide which ones of them are gonna be activated for that particular session. Because right now, like you can't really select that. Um, so when you start a session and you want to use like some like components you made or something, you gotta select it, and then anybody else who has those, they'll still be able to join. But also, like you're not forced to use those automatically. So you can have those plugins installed, but you can still join sessions hosted by people who don't have those plugins. They're just not gonna be, usable within that session. You won't be able to bring those in. So there's another kind of improvement that's gonna be done to the system as well. Oh, that kind of answers that one. Let's see.
I actually wanted to comment real quick, actually.
Okay.
There is actually already a hook you can use to run like a function or whatever after the engine is initialized. I think you can. It's called like engine.current.onPostInit or PostInit or something. I can't remember the exact name, but if you give that a delegate, that will run after the engine has initialized. So you do already have that one, I know for a fact.
So I'm sorry, I forgot to plug in my headset. The power. Come on. Yeah, there's kind of like a few events. Like, it's not super nice, but like, oh geez, there we go. I can plug it in. But you can like, once you kind of hook into like a method, you can like unaccess the engine. You can then like, hook into like whatever other things you need. Okay, so should be good. So next question is from Shining Hero 1. What sort of audio system are you looking at? Replace Unity one, something in-house, or a pre-made one like Steam Audio? So Steam Audio, that's not it's not an audio system. It's like a audio spatialization, so it does part of it. I think this question was probably before, like I did like the long explainer, so like I'm not gonna go into details. But Steam Audio is part that we're going to be using for specialization and stuff like that, but there's other parts that are going to be custom. We're going to be using other, like for example for the culling of the audios, we're going to use Beppu because it kind of has like stuff like for accelerating spatial queries and stuff like that. But it's going to be like custom, like the gluing and everything. Next question, check the Fox Letter. Duncan, I want to do Duncan, do anything again. Yes, Duncan. When we went to your friends, like, I mean, Jack, like, we went to Duncan because somehow they have Duncan in Germany. And it was right at the train station. So my thing is freaking out. Oh, is the battery freaking out? There we go. SNB, and it was going to be there. Here is blowing on my eyes of it. I think that's the render transform override. Maybe just disable motion blur. There we go. Okay, that should make it better. Next question is from Shining Hero 1. There's an idea. How does a plugin store for Resonite sound? Kind of like how demodding Discord has vetted list of mods but officially run. So, oh, do you mean like having like sort of like a place where you can find plugins and so on?
Like a workshop, I guess.
Yeah. I don't know if it'll be the workshop. Like, the thing is, like, maybe the problem is like with plugins, it's like they're inherently less safe. So like we're a little bit like if we make it like very easy to download them, that potentially opens a vector for abusing them. And I'd rather much like implement like the WebAssembly based ones, which we can be like more kind of certain like this is not gonna cause like security concerns. So I don't know if I don't know if it'd do it for plugins. Like it might be opening like a can of worms that we might not want to. Nukikon is asking, will these custom modules be open format? Like, can we bring them to other programs? If
For
you mean
like
the
the import,
plugin,
export stuff.
oh no,
like the open source modules.
no, like I mean, generally no, like because like the importer, like what essentially is a job of the importer and exporter. For an importer, it reads whatever format you like, whatever format you want, and it converts it into a Resonite equivalent. The exporter takes, the Resonite equivalence and translates it into whatever format you want, which means it's specific to Resonite by its nature. So you cannot really take like an importer that's for Resonite and just bring it to a different program. You'd have to like kind of rewrite it for that program. You could make like an importer and exporter that like imports and exports format that works in a different program that supports like an open format, but you'd have to make that a module. But those modules themselves, they're still specific to Resonite because they work with its data structures. So there's not really a way to like have those work in different programs. Um, so the next question is the Red Nico. Hey Froox, what are some of other systems other than audio and particles that keep us from detaching version from Unity? Um, so majorly for like any systems that are like big systems, it's pretty much just the particles and audio. There's a bunch of smaller bits, like and particularly like how the integration with Unity works. So that's another system that needs to be kind of reworked before like we actually move it into a separate process. But that's pretty much it. Um, like in the past, like Froox engine, it was tied into Unity in more ways. Like for example, like it was using its UI system, which was like bad, and then like um, it got like a UIX, which is our own UI system, which handles all the UI generation completely, um, completely like on the side of like Froox engine, and it just sends like generated like meshes to a unit that are in out. So there's no like more systems, but like been kind of like slowly like moving them piece by piece. Also, the
Yeah.
Redneck was asking, so not the input system. Yeah, we already kind of like have like our own input system that's kind of largely handled. So we just the main thing is like we need to like pipe data into it. But like we already do, we have our own input system, and we're just like piping data into it. So we just keep doing that. Um, but it's not really like a big thing. So I kind of cleared out like all the questions right now. Let's see what the time is.
I'm
I
like
think. Hmm?
I'm like vibrating because I want to see a splat so bad.
Yes. So it's one thing. Like we're actually running on a build that supports Gaussian splatting. It's not super like tested yet because I'm kind of just working on it. As sort of like a fun thing. But do you guys want to see like a Gaussian splat?
Say yes.
The only thing we'll have to go to a separate. Uh, oh, never mind. There's a question. Can't do the splats. You made Syra sad. We'll answer this question and I'll show you. I'll show you. I'll show you some splats. Caster blades. Off-topic question, but did you see contact track? If so, what are your thoughts? I haven't seen it. I don't know what it is. Do you know what it is?
Uh, I'm not really sure what that word means.
Yeah, I don't know what it means. You have to clarify. But yeah, the question is if you see if we saw it, then it's no. I don't know what it is. Also, did you spot the shoe download? I did. I don't have it imported. So let's actually move like our shardiness word is a little bit too heavy. Um, is a little bit too heavy for like this world, especially because there's also like there's like a mirror and everything. So like it's like rendering the splat like multiple times, and when it's respawning, it kind of killed me. So we're gonna move to a grid space for a second. I'm just gonna go grid. There we go. There we go. Camera. Oh, I still have these. I need to like get rid of them. So I should be able to join me. But there we go. It's public. So um, let me also bring the chat here. The chat should still be running in the other place, so it's gonna collect questions, but just so we can kind of see people's reactions. Twitch chat pro. There we go. We're gonna be collecting questions in this world. So I do have some. Um, let's see. I do have some splats that I like. That I have already imported, so I can just kind of spawn them in. Let me adjust the camera. Or do you want actually? Let's. I'm gonna show you the import process. Let me just make sure I got stuff ready. Let's see. I'll show how the importing works if I can find it. 3D scanning. Where's? Give me a second. So right now we support like importing splats in the .ply format. It's kind of imported into like our own kind of like internal format, which actually tested it. It's a little bit smaller because we have probably a bit of a compression on the data. Okay, so let me also switch on private UI so you can see my dash. There we go. Smooth POV. There we go. So I have the Lego Boy Kisser.ply. Yes, I'm importing that one. I'm just gonna copy this file. I'm gonna paste it here. And did I press it? I missed it. There we go. And the thing is, this format, PLY, it can also be 3D model, but this one's Gaussian split, so I have to select Gaussian split, otherwise it won't import properly. And you can see it's converting the splats now. There's 3 million of them.
Oh my god, it's
And
splatting.
it's splatting. So it converts them, and then it like needs to encode them. I actually went a little bit overboard, and I like made it report like what is encoding at the time too. Right now we also don't. There we go. It's encoding colors. Right now we don't do like any compression of data yet. That's gonna come like later. So like they're kind of heavy on VRAM. Like this is gonna eat like 700 megs of VRAM plus like the sorting, which is another like it's gonna be about a gig of VRAM. So yes, heavy. Finalizing encode, and it should appear in a second. This might take a while to show for you actually, which I didn't realize. Oh, there it is. And it's kind of hurty because of the camera too. Let me switch to the person, and I actually don't need the private UI anymore. Private UI, there we go. But yeah, this is a Gaussian splat. Oh, this is much heavier with the camera too. I think my laptop's kind of crying right now. Actually, let me see if this is gonna be. This is kind of like. I haven't really like much testing, so this is kind of just showing you off the cuff. Wow, this is surprisingly heavy. Like it's big, so it's probably transferring to you, and it's taking a while. Check
It
the.
finished already.
Give it a bit. Wait, it already transferred? It was fast.
Yeah, it finished really quick.
It might be processing the stuff. Like give it.
Okay. Keep an eye on my stats.
Oh, this is chunky. I wonder if I disable. I'm gonna disable the mirror to display for a bit and close the camera. Oh yeah, that makes it nicer. I might need to like add like a thing like where it caps how many sorts it does, per frame. But yeah, it's like here it works. Still work to do, but so there's a question: will we be able to edit splats within Resonite? Funny thing you ask. So I actually did add like a basic editing functionality. It also might be there's like a bug like with transferring them over network. So like, oh, there is a bug. It won't show to you because when it's imported locally, um, it needs to sync the metadata for it. But I haven't added code for that, which means it probably blew up, and you're stuck not seeing it. I'll spawn this one. I'm just gonna eat this one. I'm gonna spawn it from the cloud, which means you'll be forced to compute it locally. So I'm just gonna go in splats. Which one I'm gonna do? The Boykisser one. So this one should load for you. There we go.
Scary.
Do you see this
Holy
one?
crap. That is quite chunky, damn.
Yeah, they are heavier. It would be like it would be faster like if we were using your version of Unity, so we could like use more efficient sorting algorithms. Um, I still want to like do stuff like where I can kind of limit, how many, because like when you render the splats, you essentially have to sort all of these based on the distance. And you see there's a lot of them, and like these are being constantly sorted based on like where I'm viewing them from. And because of the version of Unity, like the sorting options are more limited to less efficient algorithms. So I do want to add like mechanisms where you'll be able to limit how many sort events can happen per frame, so it like doesn't hurt as much. Um,
Holy crap.
hmm.
My GPU is at 100%.
Oh yeah, this will tax your GPU. Like this is very very GPU.
I've got a 7900 XT just for context, so it's no slouch and whoa.
Yeah. But anyways, like there was a question about editing them. It's actually kind of like where also like it's gonna help. So I'm gonna select this app. I'm gonna open it in the inspector, and you see there's like a bunch of new things. There's like static Gaussian split. There's Gaussian split render. You can actually also see like can change the opacity, which is weird, and I can also make it way. Oh, this is weird. Or I can change the size of them, which I should be careful because that hurts. I can make all the splats like be way smaller, but you can kind of see how is it constructed, because like you see like everything's made out of these like fuzzy color blobs, and there's a lot of them in here. This whole thing is made out of the blobs, and now they're just smaller than they should be, so they don't cover the whole area. But it gives you a better idea of the structure of it. So make them back to normal size. Actually, I should just undo so it's perfectly one. There we go. Can also make it sort less often, but like if I do that, it still works. But if I move too fast, it might take a little bit to adjust. You see, like when I circle it, like if I like, well, it kind of works.
It's actually not too bad.
It's not too bad, especially not in VR.
Because since it makes your game run a little faster than the your you have more
Let me make it
frames.
sort. There we go. Oh, there we go. You see, and now it's taking a while to sort. So like they're in the wrong order, and just there we go. Now it's sorted. So you can kind of see the effect of it. And if I go on the other side, like now it's not sorted again. So it's there we go. Now it's resorted. Um, Let me make
Do
it
you
sort a little bit more often.
do you happen to have a splat that shows off like some cool reflections or refraction?
I'm not gonna complicate things right now. I don't want to showcase the other thing I was showing. Um, so what I was saying is, there's like a bunch of different things. There's Gaussian split render. On the static Gaussian split, there's some methods exposed to protoflex. So if I go and grab a protoflex tool, um, there we go. I can oh, that's not what I wanted. I'm just gonna. There's a splat that I was grabbing. So I can expose this method. I'm gonna proxy this, and I need to feed it like bounding box. So I go bounds math. Let's see, where is it? Do you know where the bounding box ones are? Transform bounds, compute bounding box. Is that one I want?
No, don't touch that one. It's component menu.
Oh,
I accidentally. Here you go.
oh,
These two.
is this the one? No, that's not the one. No, that's not the one I want. Uh,
Transform bounds, encapsulate bounds.
no. Hold on. It was, that's really weird. Why is it like... Where's the stuff? It's not showing everything. It is... What is it under transform? So, transform, bounds... there we go, from center size. That's the one I want. From center size, so I just compose like one, and I kind of have to like, just guesstimate it, but I'm gonna use like, one that's 4 by 4 by 4, and then I run it, and this will take a little bit, but this will essentially run processing that's gonna clip, um, all the Gaussians that are, outside of this bounding box. There we go, and you see now it's clipped. So there's like very basic editing options, or rather, like, there's like editing options. They're not like exposed through like intuitive tools yet, but they're there, and like we can add more, and we can add like, visual tools where instead of having to do this, the tool like lets you draw a box, and then like triggers it, and it triggers this to process the Gaussian splat. So you can do basic editing. I would like to add more as well in the future, and make it more intuitive to use. But there's like some things that you can, you can build your own tools for editing. Also, as Lucas is asking, is the bounding box clipping reversible or is it permanent? I mean, it's pretty much with anything. Like it's permanent if you save this and delete the original. So like as long as you have the original, you can always go back to it. Is it's the same like processing any asset on Resonite, right? Like if you don't delete the original, then you can always go back to it. But if the original is gone, then it's gone. You've deleted it. It also makes it much lighter, to process. Also, one thing you can do with this, you can actually export this. So I can, go files. I've already tested this, but it does support exporting. Actually, this one does. Oh, this one doesn't because this is an old import before that. I have to set it up, but you can export the edited Gaussian splice out of Resonite too. There's actually one thing I can show you. I can't show this one in the other world because it's going to be too heavy. Let's switch back. There we go. Hello. I'm going to turn the camera back on as well. Mirror display. So I also got a bunch of like questions accumulated. But where did Sarah go? There's another thing I wanted to show you. There is a procedural Gaussian splat, and this is just kind of to show you what Gaussian splats look like. So if I create empty object, I go into assets, there's procedural Gaussian splats, diagnostic Gaussian splat, and this is like one of the things I use like, when working with rendering. You can literally add the splats one by one. I'm gonna set a render for this, and I'm gonna add a Gaussian splat. There we go. This is a single Gaussian splat. And you can see it's essentially like a color blob. And this is like, just the unit size. So it's like 1 by 1, like in every, it's kind of grayish too. And you have like a bunch of different parameters for it. You have like the position, so you have like, the Y position, so you can, make it move up. You also have rotation, that's not going to do anything because it's uniform size, but you have the scale, so you can actually make it be, 0.1 on the x-axis, which means, it's kind of thin like this, but if I look at it from the side, well, that's not a good one because there's a bunch of stuff there. There we go. You see, like now over this, it's still kind of like, it's essentially more of a disk, but each split has like, a 3D dimension to it. And if I change the rotation, that's gonna, it's not the right axis. What axis do I need? This one? There we go. There we go. So now it's gonna rotate it. So each splat can also have like rotation. So like they can be like stretched, they can be thin, they can be big. I can make it squished on another axis. So it can be 0.1 on this axis, and now it's like this like thin splat. And they also have color, and the color is specified using something called spherical harmonics. So I can put color here, and then I can put also color on like some of the other some of the other bands of the spherical harmonics. I'm just gonna put some random values there, just to kind of see what it does. And now, like if I like move around it, I might have done wrong bands. I might have done like vertical ones or something. I'm actually do some of the lower bands. That's gonna make it a little bit more obvious. There we go. Let me also change the default one to. So now when I move around, what did I do? These are kind of hard to edit by hand, so I'm just gonna like
up and down. I'm seeing
yeah, I think it's up and down for this. Let me do this thing. 2 on here. Gonna do 0 on this one. This is hard to like get the effect. I wasn't doing much. This is maybe these other bands. Let me see if I fly up. Let's see. Let me just return this back to what it was. So if I change this one should be. Which direction is this in? These are puzzling. Let me try this one. It's not really super human readable for this.
That looks like red from this way and blue from this way.
Does it? Did it not update for me?
Yeah, it's red from here, and then when I look at it from this way, it's blue.
That's weird. Why is it not? Oh, there's something. Oh, I think there's a bug. Okay, this looks like a bug because like it's gray for me, but it's red on the camera. So the camera's rendering okay. Yeah, so that is odd. That's very odd. There's something wrong.
I see it.
Okay, more bugs.
Fine, although it renders
like
behind.
It's literally gray. Like for my viewpoint, like if I disable this, it's gray, but on the camera it's red. So there's a bug with the rendering. So I was kind of confused because it looked like most of it wasn't like doing anything. But yeah, you can see it on the camera now. It's like it changes color based on the angle we view it from. And essentially, all the Gaussian splats, they're composed from these. And this is like a new type of primitive. The way like you have triangles for the traditional geometry, you have, Gaussian splats for, Gaussian splatting. And because of this representation, you can see like all the Gaussian splats, they have like, this very kind of fuzzy edge on them, which means like they're really good at representing fuzzy details, like like fur or plants or transparent things and so on. So um, it's like this new primitive that kind of gives it like the ability to like make really photorealistic looking scenes. And people sometimes ask like can you just like make a model out of it? And I always tell them that kind of loses the point because the Gaussian splats look so good because they're Gaussian splats, because of how they work, because of how their rendering works. So like if you convert this to just the typical model, it's not gonna look as good anymore. But yeah, hopefully this kind of gives you like a little better idea. It still needs like a little bit more time to work on, but I wanted to give you, a little bit like sneak peek on things that have been worked at, and there's still like bugs and stuff that need to be sorted through. Let's go back to the other questions because we have got a bunch of them kind of piled up. I also need to enable the view on the camera. There we go. So hopefully, that kind of gives you a bit of a kind of sneak peek and a little bit better understanding of like what Gaussian splits are and how they're gonna like work in Resonite. Just as a little sneak. So going back to the questions, let's also double check on time. We still got a bit of time. So the red Neko is asking, I had a second one, the related audio system. Will there be increase in the number of audio outputs simultaneously playing once before the audio in the breaks in the new system? Potentially, like we'll have to see how it kind of performs. It's essentially just kind of restricted by how much the hardware can handle because before the audio breaks down. So if it performs well, we can kind of increase the defaults. It also might be kind of tricky, because we could make it a set thing, based on our hardware. But then the problem is, if you build a world and you assume everybody can hear as many sounds as you can, maybe some people can, and now the audio's kind of broken for them. So that's one of the trickier things to approach. So we'll see. We'll see how it kind of goes. I don't want to make any commitments there right now. Next question is from Dwiggy Morph. Speaking of splits, will compressed Gaussian split format be supported as well, or just .pli files? It depends what do you mean by compressed format. Which format do you mean specifically? There's one format I've been looking at called the SPZ. We just need to have a wrapper for it and make have a compiled version of it, and then it should be relatively easy to add support for it. So the one's probably going to be supported, but I don't know if that's the same format you're thinking of. So if it's the SPZ one, then probably yes. There's also other part it's having the Gaussian splits compressed in VRAM, which is gonna make them a little more efficient to render because it's gonna use less VRAM. That's one of the things I also want to add, just to because they take a lot of VRAM. So that's also gonna come at some point. But it's kind of separated from the file format compression. That's how they compress in the video memory. Next question is from Shining Hero 1. How badly would Unity react to having the underlying mono version replaced with even a slight update? You can't really do that. The Unity is built, with its own mono version. So and they have their own fork of it too. So you can't just update it.
Even if you could, it would react badly, to say the least.
Yeah, and that's one of the reasons they don't update often is because they haven't made a lot of changes to it, which means every time they want to update it, they need to backport all the changes and everything, so it takes them forever to do it. And even then, there's you don't really get super much benefit from doing it because even the newer versions of Mono are they're not substantially faster than the older ones. The next question is from the Red Neko. Rescending cast not in queue. Oh, we already answered that one. Alex to PI, Froox Volleyers Plus, and Resonite support movies in splats. No, you'll need all the VRM for that. Also, I don't know, what do even movies? What do movies and splats mean? I don't even know what that means.
Basically just think of GIFs, but for splats, I guess.
No, I thought it's a movie that's in each splat. Each splat is a movie texture.
Oh God.
I don't know. I don't really I thought that was just a joke one, but if you have a more one, I mean you could do animation with splats. There's some things for that, but until there's something we can easily adapt and use, I don't think we're gonna integrate it until then. I'm probably not gonna do a bunch of kind of research because they're already very heavy on memory, and for movies you need a lot of data. So there needs to be a lot of work into those kinds of formats. Next question is from Caster Blades. I don't know much about Gaussian splits. Would you be able to cut some of? Oh, yeah, we usually show that. Actually, that is it. Got some of the background fuzzy bits of Gaussian split. Only have the good bits of the models. It can be integrated with other stuff, like Gaussian split mode as centerpiece for social plays. Yeah, you can like cut them out. The only thing is, in some spots you actually need the bits because like they do stuff like like reflections. Because sometimes like oftentimes they do reflections where it's literally sort of like a mirror version of the world, like that's on the other side. So if you cut those pieces, we actually lose a bunch of the visual. But yeah, like we showed earlier, you can kind of cut them off. Um, do I get more? Yeah, like we showed this one, we'll be able to edit spots within Resonite. Yes, so, like you'll be able to. I mean, you already kind of like you'll be able to like with a simple like protoflex method, but we want to add like nicer tools too. Shining Hero One asks, I hope there's there to trim Gaussian splits as well. Yeah, like you can do it like um, you can do it in some of the tools. It's a little bit harder to do in desktop because like in the cool thing in VR is like I can just literally grab a tool and be like I'm just gonna use cider like here. I can be like I want to crop this and you just kind of draw the box around. Whereas on desktop you have to be like okay, I have to align here and then I have to make sure it's aligned here and in VR, it's like more kind of intuitive, like to do it. It's even harder if you want to like just clean them up. Say like there's a bunch of like splats over here. So like in VR, I can just grab a tool and be like, okay, gonna remove here and gonna remove here and a little bit here. Like it gives you like that kind of like spatial ability to work like spatially, which I think is like really beneficial and makes things a lot easier. Um, Next question, Shining Hero One. Also, what was that glitch for doing the family get death pose? Yes, he was. He does that a lot. It's been cute. Next question from Dwagimorph. Also, what do you use to make your splats? Direct with camera scanner or from images and videos? I make mine from like photos I take. I use a software called JawSet Post Shot to like reconstruct them. I usually take like raw photos and I kind of process them, like do like denoise and some extra processing and then process them like with the Gaussian split software. Jack the Fox author is asking, are Gaussian splits part of the performance update? They seem to help with shifting the bottleneck to the GPU. They're not. It's just like a fun project kind of on the side. They do like they're very they use the GPU a lot, but they use it for themselves, and they don't really help they don't help with any other stuff. So like I wouldn't consider it part of it.
So
There's like
there's no.
one. Hmm?
Oh, sorry. I was gonna
There's
say there's no. Sorry. You go
oh
first. You go first.
there's like one benefit. Like there's like a few kind of things that actually end up like being related to the performance update. One of them is adding the support for the spherical harmonics, which will use like for a bunch of like different things, like photon dust, there's gonna be new effects and so on, but also to kind of like migrate more stuff from Unity into Froox engine, like for example, the ambient lighting, which also uses spherical harmonics, the same way Gaussian splats do. The spherical harmonics is also gonna be used, for the audio system, for ambisonics and so on. So there's like stuff that's kind of related there. Um, Actually, I wonder if I can also show that one. I should probably shouldn't right now, but
Mm.
we'll see. Um, because like one of the things is like the ambient lighting in the world, it actually is also encoded using spherical harmonics, which is what the Gaussian splits use for the individual pieces. So the code either for spherical harmonics for the Gaussian splats that's also useful for other things. Some of them are related to the performance update, like the audio system and like moving some of the lighting, so it goes from being computed on the Unity side, the Froox engine side. So there's like bits there. Um, One of the things that like where it might end up being sort of related is because I had to like work with like make the Gaussian splits. They're rendered using compute shaders. So I've kind of like had to like integrate that like into the kind of pipeline that we have, especially with the one that Resonite uses, because it has to do all the sorting of them, but also has to compute all the properties for the splats and shade the Gaussian shade the spherical harmonics for each Gaussian. Um, I might end up like writing a compute shader to do similar thing for the particle system for photon dust. Because there's still some like kind of performance issues with photon dust, like when it comes to submitting the simulated data to Unity. Um, But I don't know if it's necessary yet. I still need to kind of look into it deeper. But it's possible we might need to bypass just kind of not use Unity's particle rendering at all and just have our own using compute shaders. So uh, working on the Gaussian splice kind of helps get able to be more familiar with that. So it might help in that regard, sort of not super directly, but kind of indirectly kind of helps. Fuzzy bipolar bear, calling me a blob rude. We weren't talking about him in specific. Oh, we already answered that one. Alex to PI. I asked earlier about possible support for movies plus in Resonite.
I think we already answered that.
Yeah, we answered that. Lucas Zero, can we bake a set of these diagnostic gas spot as one? Could be interesting to make brushes of these. You can bake it. You couldn't really make brushes of it. Like you know what it would do? It's not really a thing I would use for a brush. I don't think it's super useful for that. Also, you'd have to they don't. One of the things the casting splits they will not blend with each other. They kind of render it as its own unit. So you have two of them, they're not gonna blend, in a super useful way. So it's not useful for that. Next question is from the JetForge. Is it possible to rig gas in splits, photorealistic avatars? So for the rigging part, you could actually do it. The basis of it, you do have each Gaussian is determined by its point, the rotation and the scale, and technically, you could have a matrix that binds it to a bone, and you just recalculate that, and move it around, as the bones move, you recalculate positions. So theoretically, yes, you can rig them. You would need some kind of tool set to do it. I don't know if there's any software that lets you do that right now. In terms of the math of it, it's not a problem in terms of the math. I don't know if there's any tooling for it, but even if there was tooling for it, I don't think it's necessarily super useful for avatars, because there's been some projects with Gaussian splits where they actually do rig them, but it's specific to that project, and you can kind of move them around. But the problem is Gaussian splits they don't interact with the lighting in the scene. All the lighting is baked, which means your avatar, for one, the avatar is gonna be really heavy. You don't want to use huge amounts of GPU just to render your avatar. It's not gonna blend well with other avatars because, like mentioned earlier, the Gaussian splits they don't blend with each other. You could make them blend with each other with lots of extra effort, lots of extra performance, but it doesn't right now. It also doesn't interact with the lighting, so if you're in dark environment, you're gonna be glowing. If you're bright environment, it still might not fit in because the lighting is effectively baked into it. So I don't think it's other than using it as a joke. I don't think it's useful for that kind of stuff. It's really most useful right now for capturing real world scenes and then rendering them in VR so you can kind of look at them and preserve their graphical fidelity. But I don't know how useful is it for interactive stuff, avatars and so on. Next question is from Alex to PI. There's new paperwork. People are starting to create moving videos in splats, Froox. Yeah, there's some research. The only thing is until it makes it into some um code, that's public and it can be used in some format that we can easily adapt. You're probably not gonna see it because we'd have to um we have to do a lot of that kind of work ourselves, and it can take months, and we cannot afford to dedicate months to doing guessing, splatting kind of research ourselves, to have it in here. That's not our main focus. So the best thing is once those make it into some kind of more standardized formats, once there's more standardized kind of tooling, we can adapt it, but we're probably not gonna spend that amount of time implementing that all this kind of groundwork ourselves. Next question is from Zwan5250. I'm trying to research for technical details about Gaussian splatting. May I ask this feature related to paper 3D Gaussian splatting for real time? Reynolds field rendering, published in August 2023. Yes, it's related to that paper. I mean, that one, I think that's like the first one, maybe, that, like, kind of published, or like one of the first ones. So it is like, that function. There's been kind of a lot of papers kind of researching and so on. Like, the rendering we have is like, essentially just rendering the basic like static Gaussian splats. And there's like a lot of research like doing like lots of different things, but like, it's still within the realm of the research, or like, very specific apps. So next question is from SNB8272. Will there or have there been any attempts on getting system for converting shaders from VRC to Resonite? That's very unlikely to happen. Shaders, they're essentially code, and converting code from one system to another, like, that's very complicated kind of task. Like, where like you rarely get systems that would be able to convert like all possible code into a different system and have it still work. We so like right now, like, even the issue is like, we don't support like custom shaders. Which means all the shaders like are kind of like pre-built. And one of the reasons for that, or the main reason for that, is because while we're still tied to Unity, we cannot guarantee that the code will keep working. Like, well, pretty much it won't keep working like only once we switch the graphics engine, because it works a fair bit, like, like it's gonna work like very differently. And like one of the things we want to do with everything on Resonite is make sure we can maintain compatibility. Whatever you build, we want to make sure it can keep working, and we can adapt it to keep it working, like, with whatever changes we make to the system. There's, for example, with the photon dust, like, we have a system that converts the legacy particle system into the new one, and like, most of the times, like, it just works, and there's like still a few cases to be fixed, but pretty much, like, things will look and feel the same. And we want to make sure we can do the same for shaders. If we implemented custom shaders right now, we'd have to use Unity system, but there's not a reasonable way to convert those shaders into whatever new engine we'll switch to eventually, which means all those custom shaders would break, and is one of the reasons we don't have the support right now. And the reason, like, the reason, like, it's not possible to keep supporting them is because you can't really convert code automatically to a completely different system. So there's not a system. I don't think like anybody like tried one. I don't think it's even like, possible. Like, not like with like reasonable kind of success rate. Um,
Yeah.
I think it's like it's one of those things like where like, like there's like some tools that can, like, can you get you like, certain amount of time, like, they can get you a little bit there, like they kind of pre-convert some kind of patterns, and you still have to like edit it, and it
Yeah.
doesn't really work.
Like the closest, like the most successful you'd probably get with like the least amount of effort is like let's say you had uh, a physically based shader, right? Uh, the closest you could probably get is just plugging the same like textures and parameters into the corresponding engine's also physically based shader. Um, in terms of like, it's basically like asking how do I run my Unity shaders in Unreal Engine? Like it's the same level of
Yeah,
difficulty.
yeah. It's also like because like some shaders can be like, built like for a specific way the rendering pipeline works, and they achieve certain effects, based on that. But if the pipeline works different, then you need to do the effect like a different way, and maybe it's not even possible with a different pipeline, to get the same effect. Um, so it kind of becomes, one of those things. It doesn't translate automatically. Usually, you have to like have somebody figure out how to do similar effect, with a different one. It kind of depends on the shader, but like it is one of those tricky things. Also, Fuzzy Bipolar Bear is asking, are you feeling any better getting over Concrab? Yeah, it's better than it was like on Friday. Like Friday, I pretty much like was dead. I have like a fever and such, so I'm just kind of like more kind of bland stuff, But it's getting better.
Everyone seems to have gotten hit by
Yeah,
an annoying head cold.
We got the plague, as a
Whiskey
Canadian guy
ate this
likes to say.
Christmas.
But so that's pretty much all the questions right now. We have about 30 minutes left, so there's still plenty of time for questions. So, like, if we could some more, make sure, like, to like get them in before the time runs out. Just so we don't get like any last time questions like last time. But we can like ramble about some other stuff. I can actually show you some other things. So the other thing I wanted to show you with the spherical harmonics. Let me change this back to smooth POV. So all the lighting in the world, if I make like a sphere. How do I already have a sphere? So there's like multiple things that kind of contribute to the lighting of the sphere. There's the actual lights in the scene, but there's also like ambient lighting. There's also ambient lighting that's computed typically from the skybox. And I know like you don't in normal builds you can't control that, but there's actually a new component. This is not really polished yet, so this might actually look different. But I can like give you a little bit of peek. If I go into rendering, there's what is it? Ambient light SH2, and this actually uses second order spherical harmonics, to determine ambient lighting. And if I plug red here, for example, now there's like a red ambient light everywhere, and you see it immediately affects the scene, and everything's red.
Red
Is all red. So like the first band, is literally just like ambient, it's like covers everything. But if I do the second band, this is gonna be like one side. So now it's also red, but is red, only from top. You see, and the bottom is like dark, and same like with everything, the red is from the top. Could also change it, to be like I'm gonna do blue, blue. Now it's blue from the top. And if I actually reverse it, if I like plug -1, if I go minus, now it's blue from the bottom. If I plug it, if I plug it here, this is gonna be from one axis. So now it's blue from this one. So it's almost like there's like blue light kind of coming from here, and you can kind of see it on everything, over there. And then if I go into even higher ones, you're actually gonna see this kind of creates this kind of like band effect. See, and like if I like let me actually use the different axis one so it's a little bit clearer. I'm gonna use this one. Here we go. This should be there's a band here and there's a band here. So this is the way today, like the lighting is like the ambient lighting is kind of encoded, and I can actually just plug a bunch of random stuff here. So I've kind of created like this kind of funky ambient lighting, and I can actually control it. And usually, like it's made so it actually kind of matches the environment. I'm just kind of plugging random colors in here, but actually looks kind of neat with this world. It's kind of neat looking. But essentially, it is using the spherical harmonics to control how the ambient lighting works. So it's one of the things that's probably going to be exposed, and we'll probably add like tools so you can kind of compute it, from a texture, and then you can also blend it. So like like if you like move around the environment, you could like, what is that?
That is not me. That is something in the world.
That's so weird. Um. Anyways, we want to make it like so it's so you can like kind of blend it. So like, for example, if you move around the world, the ambient lighting will also change. So it's going to expose like, some new options. But the basic building block that is used for that, is the spherical harmonics, which originally, I didn't because of the Gaussian splits, because they used them to encode color, but it's also useful, for this other thing. It kind of gives you like more control over stuff. I'll actually keep this on because I kind of like how it looks. I can also show you, if I create another empty object, I've added, I'm gonna, no, this works. I'm gonna add a procedural asset, procedural meshes, there's icosphere meshes, SH2. So what this does, this is like the icosphere procedural mesh, except the both colors, like vertex colors, and the radius, you can modulate them using spherical harmonics. So if I set up a render, it's actually using the ambient lighting as well of the world, so it's gonna. I'm not gonna show the colors because we can kind of see that with that, but it's kind of funky if you play with the radius, because right now it's only using the first band, which is like it's the same everywhere. I will switch it to a different material so we can kind of see positive and negative better. So go vertex color, metallic. There we go. Don't want this one. Plug in the vertex color, metallic. There we go. So I think it's like inverted by default. No, it's dark by default. Never mind. So if I actually remove this one and I only give it like the positive band, you see like it kind of creates this kind of shape. And I'm actually going to increase the number of subdivisions so it's kind of smoother. There we go. And what you're seeing is like, it's still, the base is the sphere, but what is happening, the function, the radius, is being modulated based on the direction. And this band, it goes like vertical like this, which means over here the radius is 0, and as it keeps increasing, it actually goes negative here. That's why this part is actually no, this is positive because the colors are inverted. It goes like it goes positive here and negative here, and it's visualized by the color. And if I change this one to be on this one, you see it kind of like rotates it too. I'm gonna plug 0 here. It's essentially the same thing, except it's on this axis. And the way you can think about spherical harmonics, I'm actually gonna grab my brush here. Brush, give me brush. Yeah. I'm not used to these controllers. There we go. The way you can think about spherical harmonics, it's like having like a standing wave, except it's on a sphere. So over here, imagine we have like like you have like start and end, and you have like a wave here. You have like a wave that goes positive and it goes negative. It's just like sine wave. It's essentially this, except it's wrapped around a sphere. So on one side it goes it goes positive, and on the other side it goes negative. And this one, it just kind of like it flips it. So like it kind of, when it goes negative, it still like flips it, so it goes like this. But essentially it's like it's this, except following a sphere, if it kind of makes sense. And this is this is the first order. That's why it's just like one like this. If I go, and it's and you have like one band like in each kind of direction. If I go here, like it also does it like in this direction. But then when I go into the higher order bands, so let's do this one too, you see now it does this kind of shape. And the reason for this is because for the second order, the sine wave, it goes like this, 1, 2. And as how it wraps around this, it's like you literally have it like is literally this peak, matches this peak, or maybe like in its reverse, but doesn't matter. This peak, is gonna match this one. This one is gonna match this one. This one's gonna match this one. So it's kind of, it's almost like it took the sine wave and like you kind of wrapped it around. And it's also like in 3 dimensions, makes things a little bit more complicated, but essentially it's this kind of principle. And what this does, it's a way of like sort of encoding information where, it can be sampled directionally. Because you can kind of combine these different bands, to create all kinds of different, functions on the surface of the sphere. So I can like, plug one here, or maybe put a -1 here, do like this thing, and do a thing here. I'm gonna do a thing here. Don't want it to be that big. You can create like, all kinds of like weird shapes. And like you don't need, that many parameters for this. Like the SH2, which is like, second order, which has 9 coefficients, is enough, to encode like the ambient lighting information like this in the world, and it doesn't need much data to do it. These Gaussian splits, they use third order, which has 16 channels, and that can encode even more information. So it's essentially like a mechanism, to like encode information. Because if you think about a sphere, each point of the sphere, it's a direction from the center of the sphere, to that point. So if you want to like, sample point on the sphere, you're essentially, taking something that's inside, like this goes from the center, and you have a directional vector. And if the sphere is like unit sphere, this is, just unit direction. You sample the spherical harmonic, and it gives you color, or it gives you, radius, or it gives you, audio amplitude for the ambisonics. So like if you have like, an audio source here, the spherical harmonics, it encodes the audio channels. The audio channels are the individual coefficients, and then you sample it based on where the listener is relative to the audio source. And this is kind of cool way, like, to kind of be able to visualize it. There's actually one thing I also wanted to bring in. Let me. Also not getting any more questions. Like, if you got any more questions, make sure, like, to post them before the stream ends. I'll try to get them before, like, in this ends. But if there's no more questions, we'll probably end up like rambling about things for a bit. I did want to showcase. So there's like this kind of diagram that you can kind of see a lot, like in different disciplines, because like the spherical harmonics, they're one of the like building blocks, like vectors and other stuff that kind of comes up with a lot of other stuff. If you look at this diagram, this should be very familiar. But this is literally like, what I've showed you with this, because I've always been like, what does this mean? Like, what is this visualizing? And this is literally just the value where the spherical harmonics modulates the radius. So if I change it, back, go say 0. If it's just the first band, then it's just it's literally just a sphere, as the first one. If we go for the second band, the first order, you see it makes that kind of shape. That's exactly that shape. There's like 3 of them. Then the second order, there's a bunch. So like if we have 1, 2, 3, 4, so this one makes this shape, and this matches our shape here. And then also, if we plug this one to this band, this makes shape on a different axis. And if we plug this one here, this makes this kind of shape. Does it look familiar? Is that shape? and then this one. This is gonna now they're kind of getting combined, and this makes this shape. So like it's literally these shapes, and all this indicates is the radius modulated by the value of the spherical harmonics function at each point of the sphere, with like the colors indicating like where it goes positive and where it goes negative. Because if you got a sine wave, it goes it goes positive and it goes negative, positive, negative. Same here, it goes positive, negative, positive, negative. And if you add like more bands, this one, you can see like now it goes like 3 times. So the third order is positive, negative, positive, negative, positive, negative. Like it goes through three waves essentially. And the more orders you add, like the more complex the shape gets, the more complex the information you can encode is.
I guess like
So
you you can almost think about it like you can almost think about it like the different frequencies that like make up a sound wave, for example, because the data that they represent is constructed out of their interference with each other.
it kind of, I mean, this kind of waves in general is like these are sort of like the basis ones, and then like you combine them to like create whatever function you want. Usually, like this is like an extreme variation, So like this is gonna be like this kind of like kind of showcase. But you can use these kind of to constructively and destructively like create like some kind of like smooth function. It's actually the same kind of it's similar approach that's like used for encoding images with like JPEG. Because
Oh yeah,
with JPEG, what you do, um, you essentially vary like kind of frequency information in a block of 8 by 8 pixels. I forgot my brush. There we go. So like in JPEG, you essentially overlying like a bunch of things, and you can have like very high frequency detail that goes with like low frequency detail, and like it ends up like making like if you want like very big detail, you can have a function that's that's gonna be bright here and low here, and what this is this is gonna be like this, and then you're gonna have like information that varies a lot more, so it's gonna create like kind of bands. And if you have enough of these, you can actually construct pretty much any you can construct any image you want. What it is, you're essentially using the Fourier transform, where you translate the information from spatial domain into frequency domain.
yeah,
You can compose any wave out of like any frequencies, as long as you have like any of them. And it's kind of the similar thing. If you had enough of these, you could have arbitrarily precise information on the surface of a sphere. And the spherical harmonics is what makes the encoding kind of like efficient. Especially like if you don't have too many bands, it makes it very efficient to encode low frequency detail. So like you cannot like have like something that's like a color that would be like in a very small area, very different. The information is very low frequency, which means it kind of varies more slowly. But for stuff like ambient lighting, that's perfect because that doesn't have very high frequency details.
yeah. We did get a couple more questions
Yeah,
actually.
there's more questions. Um, So Lucas is also asking, so far these examples use secondary SH, will there be higher order ones? So Gaussian split actually has third order ones. So like if I switch to this, you see for the Gaussian split, it goes all the way to SH15. There's also data structure for SH4. So if I switch to this, and I'll create just an empty object. And I just go data. I'm just gonna make value field. Oh, just another cool thing about these. Like I've implemented these very generically, so I can be literally spherical harmonics. And then I'm just gonna use float. Oh, actually, I forgot to add the order. So right now the hard-coded ones are all the way up to fourth order. So I can add, 4 other spherical harmonics, and these have like, 25 coefficients. There's nothing that like uses these right now. I do want to add like so it actually generates the icosphere for all of these all the way up to L4. If there's interest, I can implement like arbitrary level of support, but that's gonna make it a little more complicated for the data model. And I don't think like you see like higher order ones like super often, anyways. So I'll probably leave that one for later. But right now they go all the way to L4 within the data model. This is another question, how much can you change with the size of the protoflux? Can you drive it, for example? Yes. It's literally like, it's not that different, from other data types like matrices, or vectors. So if I grab this, let me actually I'm gonna show it with this one because it's gonna look funky. So if we go back, to this kind of thing, this is just a value, like any other. So I can drive it, and there's a new set of nodes. There's only a few basic ones. Probably gonna need some more in the future. Wait, what is happening?
Sorry, I was selecting something.
Oh, so if I go math, there's spherical harmonics. You can pack them, and there's also like evaluation. So you can you can plug any spherical harmonic and evaluate value at like vector you want. This one is second order, so I'm gonna pick this one. And I pick the type float. So I can, essentially just pack it. And I go like one, go like zip. I'm gonna move this a little bit closer and say like I just wanna, animate it, like do funky stuff with it, just kind of for visualization purposes. I'll go grab time, first time, and then I'll do like simplex noise, I think. Yeah, it works. Simplex noise. It actually works because it goes like the negative too. We could also just use simplex noise. There we go. Plug this in. Go on. There we go. Plug this in. I just plug this into this, and now I have this blobby thing, whatever this is.
You should
It
draw
actually looks kind of neat. That
the
is.
lighting with it.
Yeah. Hold on. Let me change the color so it's also like. Oh, that's not what I want. No, that's too much. Eh. There we go. Ooh. But I can mess with it and do like whatever stuff you want. I'm gonna do some more. I'm just gonna multiply. Where's multiply my dummy? It's in operators. There we go. I'm just gonna plug this in so I can just vary it a little bit so they're not like all the same. So I'm gonna do like, I don't know, like 3 point something, just random value. And this through simplex too. And just go here. Oh, that's too much actually. That's too fast. There we go. I've got like this funky shape. So like you can drive them. You can like mess around with them. You can sample them. I've kind of hinted at this like a little bit earlier. So if I go math, spherical harmonics, there's the evaluate. And there's some kind of helpers because like you need to specify the spherical harmonic you want. So I want spherical harmonics L2 of type float. And the type is float. Did I get out of it? Float? Did I do it wrong? I did something wrong. Spherical harmonics. What did I do wrong? This is spherical harmonics L2 float. Oh, it misspelled spherical, dummy. There we go. So I get the evaluate node. So I can actually, be like, I want to know what value is, the dispersion vector. And right now there's not one, so I'm gonna do it here. Oh, it's not updated. Oh, I need to mark it as continuous up. No, that's weird. Why is it not updating by default? Something's clogged. What? What is wrong with this? Did I bork something? I still have bugs. Yeah, it's kind of like, work in progress and stuff. So, like, I think there's very odd. Why is this not evaluating? Yeah, I normally should be able to evaluate them, but there's something wrong right now. Yeah, work in progress build. Oh, do you? Oh, there we go. Are you animating? There we go. You're animating the ambience.
Hooked them up to color XQ with this offset for a couple of them.
Yes, there we go. That's really neat. So you can create like all kinds of like effects with that.
Whoa, it's kind of like almost like rotating. That's crazy.
It pretty much is, I think. Like they're like offset, like it's like when you combine them, like it essentially creates this kind of like rotating effect. You might have like seen it like earlier too. Is like when I was combining some of them. It's kind of funky, like when you look at this too. So it's just going. Blue, blue.
Oh wow, it's
One,
like it just like creates like a hole in the middle sometimes.
yeah.
Whoa.
One thing I'm like just hoping somebody will make with this is like a audio visualizer.
Yes.
But yeah, hopefully that also answers those extra questions. It's like you can work with them in with Reflex. My goal was to essentially add a new data primitive. The way vectors are, the way matrices are. This is just another one because it's useful for so many things. So the Gaussian splits, they were sort of like the initial impulse to do it, but then I was like, oh wait, these are useful for this, and they're useful for that, and and for this other thing. And I made sure like the implementation is very generic. So like with any data type that does support that supports multiplication or specifically scaling, you can use it with spherical harmonics. Like you could make spherical harmonics like that like has matrices on each point, which like I don't know if there's like any practical use for it, but somebody will make something crazy with it. Um, we also have like about 2.5 minutes left, so like that's pretty much like about time to like wrap it up. Um, yeah. So yeah, hopefully that I think it's kind of covers everything. Unless do you have like anything yourself?
No, I think that this is magical, and now I want to play with it for 10 hours straight.
Yeah, yeah. People will have like lots of fun with it. Okay. I think we're good to like we're gonna be good to like end it here. So
Okay.
thank you very much everyone, like who has like joined. I hope like you enjoyed like this episode of Resonance. I hope like you enjoyed like the everyone had like a good new year. Like enjoyed like the holidays and everything. And thank you everyone for like asking the questions. And for kind of staying with us and for just kind of in general supporting Resonite.
Yeah.
Thank you also for Sarah, for being here, like for joining on the stream, helping
I
answer
know
questions and showcase things.
I'm glad to have made this one. Uh, Hopefully next time will be less diseased.
Yes, yeah, it's kind of like just I'm still kind of like blah today, so it's a little bit. But hopefully like the stream was like enjoyable, like regardless. Um,
Yeah.
so thank you very much. Thank you, for like being here. Thank you for supporting Resonite. Um, and we'll see you with the next one. Actually, what's the next one? It's gonna be okay. That's on the 12th, so I'll still be around. Uh, the one on the 19th probably will have to skip because I'll be like at FC. So I don't think I'll be able to do one then. So the next one is gonna be around, but the next one, the one after, is gonna be skipped.
Okay.
So, anyways, thank you very much. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you with the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Where's the OBS? I'm blind. Okay, there we go. Bye.